Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In previous two lectures, we have discussed many antihypertensive drugs. Now we will continue with rest of antihypertensive. First of all, beta adrenergic blockers. You have studied beta adrenergic blocker in detail when you were studying the ANS. Here we will study the aspects of beta adrenergic blockers that are related to the hypertension. So the beta adrenergic blockers are usually used in patients who have stage 1 case of hypertension, and in this case they are used. Propranolol, as you know, it is a non-selective beta blocker and it was used. Now it is not used because it is non-selective. Nowadays, selective or cardioselective beta blockers like metoprolol and atenolol are used. And they are used in mild to moderate hypertension. These are combined with other drugs, especially the drugs that produce reflex tachycardia. In this case, the beta blockers will prevent this reflex tachycardia. As you know that the beta blockers decrease the heart rate. So the drugs like we have studied vasodilators are the drugs that lower the blood pressure. They will cause reflex tachycardia. In this case, we will add beta blockers to prevent this reflex tachycardia. Metoprolol and atenolol, they are cardioselective and they are widely used in the treatment of hypertension. Sustained release metoprolol is also available and they are used in patients that have hypertension and heart failure. Similarly, atenolol is reported to be less effective than metoprolol in preventing the complication. There are other beta blockers like nadolol and cardiolol. They are non-selective beta receptor antagonists. Similarly, betaxolol and bisoprolol, these are beta 1 selective blockers. There are certain beta blockers that have intrinsic sympathomimetic activity. As you know, these are pindolol, acebutolol, and penbutolol. These drugs are particularly beneficial for the patients of bradyarrhythmias or peripheral vascular disease because these drugs have intrinsic sympathomimetic activities. So we can use safely in the case of patients who have bradyarrhythmias or peripheral vascular. Labetalol, carvedilol, and nebivolol have both beta blocking activities as well as vasodilating effects. Esmolol, I am going to tell you what is esmolol. Esmolol is a beta 1 selective beta blocker and it is very short half-life. Why? Because it is metabolized by hydrolysis by the red blood cell esterases. So we use esmolol for the management of intraoperative or postoperative hypertension. In this case, we administer it intravenously and we are monitoring the patient blood pressure. And when the surgery is over, we discontinue the infusion and we can manage the patient very easily. Similarly, they are used in the case of hypertensive emergencies. And moreover, the hypertension that is associated with tachycardia or when there is concern about toxicity such as aggravation of the severe heart failure. In this case, esmolol is very beneficial in these emergencies in postoperative or intraoperative hypertension. Now comes the alpha adrenergic blockers. You have already studied alpha adrenergic blockers. You know that prazosin, trazosine and doxazosine, these are alpha 1 selective drugs and they are used in hypertension. And how they decrease the hypertension? They reduce the arterial pressure by dilating both the resistance and capacitance vessels. And these drugs also, as you know, these drugs also produce reflex tachycardia. So we cannot use these drugs in the patients of ischemic heart disease and angina because of this reflex tachycardia, their angina and ischemic heart disease will worse. So keep in mind that these drugs are not used in patients with ischemic heart disease. You have learned that these drugs are used especially in the patients who have benign prostatic hyperplasia because there are alpha 1 receptors in the prostate and the patient's symptoms of benign prostatic hyperplasia are relieved, as well as if the patient is of hypertension, his hypertension will also be cure. So we will use in the males that have benign prostatic hyperplasia plus hypertension. In this case, these alpha adrenergic blockers are very beneficial. There are certain alpha blockers that are reversible non-selective हैं. These are phenoxybenzamine and phentolamine, and you know that they are used in the diagnosis and the treatment of pheochromocytoma. Next class of antihypertensive drug is centrally acting adrenergic drugs. The first one is the clonidine. So clonidine acts centrally as an alpha 2 agonist. As you know that these alpha 2 receptors are present presynaptically. So clonidine acts on these alpha 2 receptors and cause inhibition of the sympathetic vasomotor centers. When these centers are inhibited, there will be decreased sympathetic outflow. When there will be decreased sympathetic outflow to the periphery, there will be decreased norepinephrine and epinephrine. So the patient blood pressure will decrease. This leads to reduced total peripheral resistance as well as decreased blood pressure. Occasionally, usually it is not used. If it is used, it is usually used in combination with diuretic. We have many other choices to choose for the antihypertensive drugs. So clonidine is basically not used as a routine antihypertensive. The next drug is the methyl dopa. Methyl dopa is very beneficial in treating the hypertension in pregnancy, and the studies have shown that it is very safe during pregnancy. Again, it is an alpha 2 agonist and it is converted to methyl norepinephrine, and it causes the decreased outflow, sympathetic outflow from the CNS. So patient blood pressure. As regards the clonidine, the clonidine basically, you may be asked a question how clonidine decreases the blood pressure. Although it is not used, but from examination point of view, you may be asked how clonidine decreases the blood pressure. Your answer will be it causes the reduction of cardiac output due to decreased heart rate as well as due to relaxation of the capacitance vessels and reduction of the peripheral vascular resistance. So basically it reduces the cardiac output due to decreased heart rate and relaxation of the capacitance vessel. Clonidine patches are available. It usually causes dry mouth, sedation and depression. The most important side effect with clonidine is the hypertensive crisis with clonidine withdrawal. If a patient is using clonidine and he or she abruptly withdraw clonidine, he will experience hypertensive crisis, means that her blood pressure will rise uh, more than that he or she have. So you have to tell the patient that do not stop clonidine immediately or abruptly. If the patient experience this hypertensive crisis, that is usually occur if the patient is taking more than 1 milligram per day of dose of clonidine, then the treatment is reinstitute of clonidine, re-administer clonidine, or you can give alpha or beta blocking drugs to treat this hypertensive crisis that is occurring with clonidine. And because it is an agonist, you have already know that if you use agonist for a long term, then there will be upgradation of these receptors, and when you abruptly withdraw the drugs, there will be more receptors, so there will be more epinephrine and norepinephrine to attach to these receptors, and the patient blood pressure will shoot. This is the reason why after withdrawal of an agonist just like a clonidine, patient experience a hypertensive crisis. And you may be asked how methyl dopa lowers the blood pressure. Methyl dopa basically lowers the blood pressure by reducing the peripheral vascular resistance. Sedation, it causes sedation, mental lassitude, and impaired mental concentration. Patient may experience nightmares, mental depression, vertigo, lactation due to inhibition of dopaminergic mechanism in the hypothalamus. There is with methyl dopa, there is usually positive comb test after long-term therapy of 12 months. Next class is vasodilators. There are two types of vasodilators. Oral one are the hydralazine and the minoxidil, and the parenteral one are the nitroprusside and diazoxide. Similarly, calcium channel blockers are also vasodilators. Similarly, nitrates are also vasodilators. You will study nitrates and calcium channel blockers in a separate lecture in a big detail. So here we will consider these drugs effects as regards the anti. So you can see here vasodilators act by 1, 2, 3 and 4. By four mechanisms of action. Number one is the release of nitric oxide from the drug or the endothelium. This mechanism is followed by the nitric oxide, hydralazine, nitrates, histamine and acetylcholine. These drugs cause the release of nitric oxide from the drug or endothelium. Similarly, our calcium channel blockers like verapamil, diltiazem and nifedipine, they causes the reduction of calcium influx. Then there will be there will be reduction of calcium influx, there will be vasodilation. So patient blood pressure will decrease. The minoxidil and the diazoxide basically causes hyperpolarization of the cell membrane through opening of the potassium channels. Phenoldiazepam is a drug that causes activation of the dopamine receptors and that will lead to vasodilation. Whenever you ask write down the mechanism of action how vasodilators act, you can produce this. All vasodilators are useful in hypertension by relaxing the smooth muscles of arterioles, leading to decreased systemic vascular resistance. Here is an exception. Sodium nitroprusside and the nitrates relaxes both arterioles as well as venules. So keep in this mind, almost all the vasodilators act by relaxing the smooth muscles of arterioles, but sodium nitroprusside and nitrates act both on arterioles and venules. Decrease arterial resistance and decrease mean arterial blood pressure elicit compensatory responses. This is very important. I have already told you and you have already learned that in the case of alpha blockers that produces vasodilation, both arteriolar and venular, there will be decrease in the blood pressure, there will be postural hypertension. To compensate, body will cause reflex tachycardia. So with these vasodilators also, because when there will be lowering of the blood pressure, body will try to compensate this blood pressure by producing reflex tachycardia, and this is not good. This is not beneficial, especially in the patients with ischemic heart disease and with patients of angina. I have already told you with vasodilator we have to combine beta blockers because beta blockers will prevent this tachycardia. Hydralazine combination with nitrates is effective in heart failure. Its metabolism is bimodally distributed in our population. Some people are slow acetylators, some are fast acetylators. I have written only typical points of hydralazine. With these vasodilators, always know whenever there is vasodilation in your brain, in your head, there will be headache, there will be palpitation, there will be flushing and sweating. These signs and symptoms will be common with all the vasodilators. Because of the reflex tachycardia, all vasodilators can provoke angina or ischemia in patients with ischemia. Minoxidil's toxicity is similar to hydralazine. I have already told you vasodilators produce similar type of toxicity. However, hypertrichosis, there will be increased hair growth. It is bothersome in the women, but it may be a beneficial effect in the male. So minoxidil shampoos or topical minoxidil is usually used as a stimulant to hair growth. It means that how the one person's side effect can become the effect on other person. Next vasodilator is sodium nitroprusside. It is a complex of iron, cyanide group and nitrosamine. It is rapidly metabolized by uptake into RBCs with liberation of cyanide, which is then converted to thiocyanate, which is less toxic and eliminated by the kidneys. I have told you that it is metabolized rapidly, so we give it intravenous infusion. Similarly, it's very important point, it causes liberation of cyanide. If patient is not able to metabolism of this cyanide to thiocyanate, then cyanide will accumulate and it will produce toxicity. Accumulation of cyanide can lead to metabolic acidosis, arrhythmias and excessive hypotension and death. This is very important with sodium. How can you treat if this is happening? Sodium thiosulfate can facilitate cyanide metabolism into thiocyanate. And I have told you that thiocyanate is less toxic and it is excreted by the kidney. Similarly, hydroxycobalamin combines with cyanide to form non-toxic cyanocobalamin. Next group of classes, calcium channel blockers. You know that these are anti-anginal as well as anti-arrhythmic. They reduce the peripheral vascular resistance by inhibiting calcium influx in the arterial smooth muscle cells. The drugs are verapamil and diltiazem and dihydropyridines. Short-acting nifedipine should not be used. Why? Because short-acting nifedipine will decrease the blood pressure immediately, and this decrease in blood pressure will lead to reflex tachycardia, and this reflex tachycardia will worsen the patients of ischemic heart disease, so there will be increased risk of myocardial infarction. And short-acting nifedipine will have this withdrawn from the market. Clavipidipine is the new member and it is usually given intravenously. You will discuss calcium channel blockers in detail in a separate lecture. Now is the adrenergic neuron blockers. These drugs lower the blood pressure by preventing normal physiologic release of norepinephrine from the postganglionic sympathetic neurons. The drugs are gonethidine and reserpine, and you have discussed these drugs in detail when you have. Here you can see this picture. You have seen this in your ANS. I hope you all of you will remember. Here is reserpine. You can see here reserpine basically inhibit this VMAT, this transporter. So dopamine will not be transported inside the norepinephrine. So therefore there will be no release of norepinephrine, and when norepinephrine will not be released, there will be no increase in the blood pressure. Similarly, I have told you about gonethidine, and here is the gonethidine. Gonethidine basically act on these VAMPs. These are the proteins that are responsible for fusion of this vesicle and the release of norepinephrine. So that's why these drugs were used in past um, for control of blood pressure. But because these drugs have lot of side effects, therefore these drugs nowadays are not used for the control of blood pressure, and we have many other choices for the control of blood pressure. In this picture, you can see different complications of hypertension. From the top, there is brain stroke, vision loss, heart attacks, blood vessel damage, kidney failure, and the bone loss. You can see how dangerous is it. So, hypertension is very important and it should be controlled according to the patient. Thank you very much. That was all about antihypertensive drugs.